5 days after Hate, Diep still can't sleep through the night. She found her mother alive, heard the apology she'd waited 20 years for, and somehow, it didn't make anything easier. Now Easter is coming, and James's mother wants to teach her an old family recipe: hot cross buns, flour, yeast, spices, and a cross on top. Diep doesn't know it yet, but sometimes healing doesn't happen in one big moment. Sometimes it happens in a kitchen, with your hands in dough, while you're not even trying. This is about what comes after you get the answers. When forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice you make over and over again. Wednesday morning, Diep burns the rice. She's standing at the stove watching the pot when she smells it. By the time she lifts the lid, the bottom is black and stuck. "Mama, the rice is smoking," Nye says from the table. James comes into the kitchen, takes one look, and opens the windows. "I'll order something," he says quietly. Diep just nods. She can't seem to find words lately. After breakfast, delivered pho that Nye complains is too salty. James's mother calls. "I'm making hot cross buns on Saturday," she says, "for Easter. I thought you and Nye might want to come help." Diep almost says no. She's not good company right now. She'll probably burn those too. But then Nye perks up. "Can we, Mama, please?" So Diep agrees. Saturday comes too fast. They drive to James's parents' house in silence. Well, not total silence. Nye chatters from the back seat about a girl at school who brought baby chicks for show and tell. Diep watches the city pass by her window and tries to feel present. She's here, in the car. With her family, this is real life happening. But part of her is still standing outside that yellow house in Hate. James's mother opens the door before they knock. Come in. I have everything ready." The kitchen smells like cinnamon already. There's flour everywhere, on the counter, in bowls, even a little on James's mother's cheek. "And we're making hot cross buns," she announces to Nye. "They're special Easter bread. My grandmother taught me when I was about your age." Nye's eyes go wide. "Can I help?" That's why you're here." James's mother ties aprons on everyone, even James, who protests that he's just there to watch. "No watching," his mother says firmly. "Everyone helps." She walks them through it step by step. Warm the milk. Mix the yeast with sugar. Watch it bubble. "See that?" she tells Nye. "That's how you know it's alive. The yeast is waking up." Nye leans close to watch the foam form. Diep measures flour. Her hands are shaking slightly, but she doesn't think anyone notices. Now we add the spices. James's mother says, "Cinnamon, nutmeg, just a little clove." The smells remind Diep of something. Not a memory exactly, more like the ghost of one. They mix everything together. The dough is sticky and soft. Your turn," James's mother says to Diep. "Knead it." Diep presses her palms into the dough. It's warm and alive under her hands. Like this, James's mother demonstrates. Push, fold, turn, push, fold, turn. You're working the gluten, making it strong. Diep follows the rhythm. Push, fold, turn. It's repetitive, mindless. Her hands know what to do even if her brain is somewhere else. Harder, James's mother says. Don't be gentle. The dough can take it. So Diep pushes harder. She thinks about her mother's face when she opened the door. The shock. The tears. Push. Fold. Turn. She thinks about 20 years of absence, 20 years of holidays and birthdays and ordinary Tuesdays that her mother missed. Push. Fold. Turn. She thinks about "I'm sorry" and how those words don't actually fix anything. The dough starts to change under her hands. Gets smoother. More elastic. Good. James's mother says, "See? You're transforming it." So after 10 minutes of kneading, James's mother takes over to show Nye. Diep steps back and washes her hands. James appears next to her with tea. "You okay?" He asks quietly. "I don't know what I am." They watch Nye press her small hands into the dough, giggling when it springs back. She's been asking about Hate. James says, asking when she can meet her grandmother. Diep's stomach tightens. "What did you tell her?" "That it's complicated, that you need time. I don't know if I'll ever be ready for that." "That's okay too." James's mother covers the dough with a cloth. Now it needs to rise. About an hour. We wait. They move to the living room. James's father is there reading the newspaper. He looks up when they enter. "How's the baking going?" "Dough's rising." James's mother says, like everything else in life, it needs time. She says it casually, not looking at Diep, but Diep feels it anyway. An hour later, they're back in the kitchen. The dough has doubled. Nye pokes it with one finger and squeals when it deflates. "That's what we want," James's mother says. "Now we punch it down and shape it." They divide the dough into 12 pieces. James's mother shows them how to roll each piece into a smooth ball. The trick is to tuck everything underneath. Hide the messy parts. Make the top smooth. Diep rolls her piece carefully, tucks the edges under, makes it look whole, even though she knows there are seams hidden on the bottom, kind of like people. She thinks. They arrange the buns on a baking sheet. James's mother makes a paste from flour and water. "This is for the crosses," she explains to Nye. "See? We pipe them on top." "Why crosses?" Nye asks. "It's an Easter tradition. The cross represents different things to different people, but to me, it means we can make something whole again, even after it's been pulled apart." She pipes careful crosses on each bun. Diep watches the white lines form, holding everything together. The buns go into the ovens. They wait again. The kitchen fills with warmth and the smell of baking bread. Nye presses her face to the oven door. They're getting bigger. "That's the heat." James's mother says, "Shuts it makes them rise one more time." Transforms them into something new. 20 minutes later, the buns come out golden and perfect. James's mother brushes them with honey glaze while they're still hot. The glaze makes them shine. "Now," she says, "we eat them while they're warm. That's when they're best." She hands one to Diep. "Go ahead. Break it open." Diep tears the bun in half. Steam rises from the soft interior. Raisins and spices. She takes a bite. It's sweet and warm and comforting. The kind of thing that makes you close your eyes. "Good?" James's mother asks. Diep nods. She can't speak around the sudden lump in her throat. They sit at the kitchen table eating warm buns. Nye has honey glaze on her nose. James's father declares them the best batch yet. James catches Diep's eye and smiles. And for just a moment, Diep feels something other than confused. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the possibility of it that night. Diep can't sleep. Again. But this time, instead of lying in bed staring at the ceiling, she goes to the kitchen. The house is quiet. James is asleep. Nye is asleep. Even the dog is asleep, snoring softly from Nye's room. Diep makes tea and sits at the table. She thinks about the buns, how they started as separate things: flour, water, yeast, sugar, salt, how they came together and transformed, how the heat changed them into something else entirely. She pulls out her phone and scrolls to Mrs. Land's number. She could call right now. Could ask Mrs. Land to pass a message to her mother. But what would she say? I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. I don't know if I can forgive you, but also, I'm trying. I don't know how, but I'm trying. She puts the phone down and pulls out paper instead. She writes, Mama, then stops. Stares at the word. Is that what she should call her? After everything? She crumples the paper and starts again. Mother, I don't know what to call you anymore. I don't know what you are to me now. I came to Hate. I saw you. I heard your apology. You said you were young and scared, that you made mistakes, that you're sorry. And I believe you. I think you are sorry. I think you've been sorry for 20 years, but sorry doesn't give me back what I lost. Diep stops writing. Her hand is shaking. She gets up and walks to Nye's room, stands in the doorway watching her daughter sleep. Nye is curled up with her stuffed rabbit. One arm flung over her head. The nightlight casts soft shadows. Diep thinks about what kind of mother she is. Not perfect. She loses her patience sometimes, burns the rice, forgets to sign permission slips, but she shows up every day. Even on the hard days, that has to count for something. She goes back to the kitchen and picks up the pen. I have a daughter now. Nye. She's 6. And when I look at her, I think about all the ways I could fail her, all the mistakes I could make. But I also know I would never leave her, no matter how scared I was, no matter what. So I don't understand. I don't think I ever will. But today I made bread, hot cross buns. And someone told me that you can make something whole again, even after it's been pulled apart. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we can be whole again, but maybe we don't have to be. Maybe we can just be something, whatever that looks like. I'm not ready to see you again. Not yet, maybe not for a long time, but I'm willing to write, to start there, to see what happens. If you want that too. She reads it over 3 times. Then she folds it and puts it in an envelope before she can change her mind. In the morning, James finds her at the kitchen table with her head down on her arms. Did you sleep at all? He asks gently. A little here. He sees the envelope. Kind is the address written in Diep's careful handwriting. You wrote to her. I did. What did you say? That I'm not ready to forgive her, but I'm willing to try. James sits down across from her. That's brave. It doesn't feel brave. It feels terrifying. Those are usually the same thing. Diep picks up the envelope. What if I mail this and she doesn't write back? What if she's moved on and doesn't want to deal with this anymore? Then you'll know, and you can move forward. What if she does write back? What if this opens everything up again? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Diep looks at him. This man who has held her through everything, who never pushed, who just waited. Why are you so patient with me? She asks. Because you're worth being patient with. On Monday, Diep walks to the post office. The letter feels heavy in her bag, heavier than paper should feel. She stands at the mailbox for a long time. This is it. Once she drops it in, there's no taking it back. She thinks about her mother opening it, reading those words, knowing that Diep is willing to try. She thinks about what that might mean. More letters, maybe phone calls eventually, maybe even another visit. The thought makes her stomach hurt. But staying stuck hurts too. She drops the letter in the mailbox and walks away before she can fish it back out. That evening, Nai is drawing at the kitchen table while Diep makes dinner. Mama, Nai says without looking up. Why were you sad at Grandma's house? Diep pauses mid-chop. What makes you think I was sad? You had your sad face on, the one you get when you're thinking about something that hurts. Just the somberous, I think. Diep sits down next to her daughter. I was thinking about my mother, your other grandmother, the one in heaven. Diep takes a breath. Actually, she's not in heaven. She's alive. She lives far away, in a place called Hatay. Nee's eyes go wide. Really? Really? I went to see her a few weeks ago. What's she like? I don't know yet. We're just starting to get to know each other again. Nai thinks about this. Can I meet her? Maybe someday, if things go well. Will you tell her about me? I already did. Nai smiles, then goes back to her drawing. Diep watches her daughter's small hands carefully coloring inside the lines. This is why she's trying. Not for her mother, not even for herself. For Nai. So her daughter grows up knowing that people make mistakes and relationships are complicated, and sometimes you have to do hard things. So Nai learns that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's one of the hardest, strongest things you can do. Later that night, after Nui is in bed, James finds Diep on the couch. I mailed it, she says. The letter? Yeah. How do you feel? Scared, relieved, sick to my stomach. All of it. James sits down next to her. Want to know what I think? Always. I think you're doing something really difficult, and I think no matter what happens, you should be proud of yourself for trying. Diep leans against him. What if it's a mistake? Then it's a mistake. But at least you won't spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? So they sit in the quiet living room, and Diep realizes something. She's been so focused on whether or not she can forgive her mother that she forgot something important. She already has a family, a real one. James and Nai and James's parents who treat her like a daughter. Whatever happens with her mother, whether they rebuild something or not, Diep isn't alone. She hasn't been alone in a long time, and that matters. Maybe it matters most of all, because forgiveness isn't about going back to how things were. You can't do that. Too much time has passed. Too much has changed. It's about deciding what comes next, what you build from here. And Diep is building something good, with or without her mother in it. That's the truth she falls asleep holding on to. The letter is in the mail. This bread has been baked and eaten. Easter is in a few days, and Diep is still here, still trying, still showing up. Some days that's all you can do, and some days that's enough.